This is Weird Renegade Witches Blog. It is up when you want some real motherfucking work done. Of course, as I always say, go to the Wayward Renegade website, see the shows of Blog Talk Radio. Hopefully, we'll see, but hear the shows of Blog Talk Radio. Hopefully, they're still there. I haven't clicked on the website for a minute, but of course, you can go to the website, see some of the frequency there, but some of the stuff I don't even do anymore. However, just hit me up. I do get your messages in reference to lessons, and as you already understand, I do monthly lessons, then I do one-on-one lessons, and with the one-on-one lessons, um, sometimes I'll connect in work, but understand the work is separate. But sometimes the one-on-ones incorporate the work, which is a different frequency. But again, that's what I do with individuals. Then there's the monthly lessons. The monthly lessons are coming soon, and I do get your messages in reference to signing up for the monthly lessons, which is separate from the one-on-ones and separate from the work that I do. But you already know, art is occultism. Occultism is a motherfucking art. And again, Wayward is about their revenge, redemption, and responsibility, and that spell work. I had to put on my Eclipse wig post eclipse. I had to sit back and watch the universal soul, so I had to be part of the planets. Okay, I don't know if I'm a Uranus. I don't know. I'm seeing that Saturn has been in the universal soul. So let's have some conversations. But I want to really deal with the distraction of the eclipse and what we missed going in, going towards, surrounding, and on. Because I have some fucking questions. I'll get to the eclipse frequency, but there were certain things that were popping up in the universal soul in social media that it seems like it was actually done years ago. Like it may have been like 2019 and 2020. And I found it very troubling that we are just now finding out about a lot of frequencies that was going on. So that means they were censoring the media so we couldn't see it. They were censoring certain entertainers so they couldn't put their energies out there. They were censoring that the immigrants have fucking been here for years. They were censoring how they have been terminating, doing so much. We don't know what is real because we don't see these people anymore. We don't know what's going on. They are lying to us. That's why they want to censor the media. They want to create their own narratives. So let's just kind of go down the line of things that are old and that are resurfacing themselves. And it started to resurface itself on the way to this eclipse. Let's look at some social media stuff. So they didn't sat up and caused a whole psychosis in the universal soul. So they had to start the psychosis back in 2020 when they shut everything down. So then they have everybody under psychological warfare and anxiety and a fear-based frequency. So then they have recreated Hollywood into this, what I would say, this real TV, it was like as if reality TV was just a social experiment to roll it out into the universal soul. So you could see, things happening in Los Angeles, crimes and car chases. San Francisco looked like the world has ended. You have New York over here having fake ass 3-point earthquakes, and then they about to sink in the water. You concerned that a damn tsunami may be coming. The world is nothing but a whole studio, and we are actors on and in the scenes, and we're not getting paid. We are casted. See, the universal soul, these people out here have casted us as part of the script, and we are not getting paid. So they don't need Hollywood anymore. They are recreating Hollywood in the universe with all of this shit that's happening. And all they needed to do was isolate us into a frequency, have us drinking and smoking weed. Remember during that time, Bevmo and all that shit was open and everybody was turning into fucking alcoholics. And then at the same time, they had all the weed dispensaries, addiction increased, the people doing cocaine. They was, having people isolated doing fentanyl and all of that shit. Remember that? So everybody out here getting high and stuff, right? And they're all in depression. Then after that, they closed us out from the universal soul. They told us we couldn't go out and get sun and all that shit. Then you start noticing them fogging up and chemtrailing the clouds and just really, really, really pushing a psychological frequency, a psychosis on us. So we shouldn't be shocked to what's happening today and how they censored us. Because remember doing the whoop wop, and they still doing it. You can't even say the word without your ass being censored or something taken down. And people don't think that's something wrong. And here's how they're getting you. See, this is where you guys got caught up in that eclipse. They're getting you with creating private businesses. See, the government, they can't censor you, and because we also have an amendment and there's certain sovereignty within the amendments and so on, and the Supreme Court cannot intervene into something that is already put in place. Is on the lines as in social media, and is coming up with this 1770, I'm going to call it the 1776 rule, that is coming out in the change of direction in history, and changing the forms of frequencies going on here, and they're talking about this, and the 1700s is very important to understand, because there's a lot of shit going on within that energy. However, they didn't set up and told you it's a state emergency. So in some states, they had them under state emergency, right? So you thinking, dang, what's going to happen? And then they picked and they chose certain states for this eclipse to go over. Then they said it was going to be a natural disaster. Then they said they had to close roads, close schools, cancel banks. People don't go to work. It's just a whole frequency going on here. Niagara Falls and all of that shit. And then when you really start to peep game, you said this was a fucking money grab. This was a cold psychological frequency of certain planets being out, and they used energies of people, prayers, Ramadan, whatever, to create these frequencies of wealth. That means all those cities that most likely went into darkness are going to be reconstructed, especially Niagara Falls. I mean, businesses got money, hotels were crowded, booked, everything. Okay? This was a cold game, and this was a cold spell, and this was a social experiment to the highest degree. See, people out here angry with Charles Barkley because he didn't clout you niggas, and he didn't say y'all idiots for getting your asses out there in the fucking dark, and said that he's a fucking hater against the solar eclipse. And I kind of giggled to myself. So I had to look at that Pisces energy and see where he was coming from. And I'm not going to look at him as an Aquarius, because I already know he think y'all stupid. However, I'm going to have to look at him as a Pisces, and I'm like, what does he know? What is he saying? What's underneath that? Because some of you guys, know that he's a super asshole. However, I'm hearing what he's saying. Why are you saying people are idiots? What the fuck you know? So let's just kind of go down the list of things, maybe what he's talking about. That there's bigger things than his universal soul. And there's something that I know that you don't know, that you guys stupid as fuck taking your asses out there. I'm just saying. Let's look at something. In social media, on, around, and up until, these are the things that's been reported. I think it's Hill Harper. I think it's him, because I think he's into some kind of technology or AI. And it seemed like, I might be wrong, it seemed like he was on a panel. And he was on a panel talking about Black people need to get into AI because and I believe, and I'm paraphrasing, that the AI is writing Black people, I'm going to say out of the script, out of history, right? And that was very interesting what he said. I said that is straight cyber magic, that is cyber bewitchery, and that is cyber witchcraft. To say a an robot, a chip, a program is writing Black people out of history and out of different perspectives of the universe, because behind that is man. So who and what is financing the reshifting to act as if we don't exist? But here's the fucked up thing behind it. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm not saying he's right. I'm just a little curious, because what is not being said is a lot of those other cultures of people are being financed. For example, back in the 90s, I've talked about this. I used to work at Patelco Credit Union in San Francisco. I used to work at consumer loans at the front desk. And I would sit there, take the applications of individuals who were interested in getting home loans and so on. At the time, Patelco basically helped or did business with Pacific Bell. However, Pacific Bell, some parts of it became SBC Global Fiber Optics. Okay. However, all these Indians just came out of nowhere, and they would come to consumer loans to get loans, and they would get personal lines of credit and so on. And they would get and be approved for like $10,000 to $15,000, and they would send their money back to India to rebuild their family situation or to help their family. So I was so curious that I would see them under SBC Global Fiber Optics. And I said, excuse me, what is this? And so they explained it to me. And then they said, and I asked them, I said, well, how did you get here? And I just started asking questions. And then they said, no, we came from India. The United States paid for our education. And I said, oh, really? And they said, yeah, they paid for our engineering degrees. Once we finish college, then we come to the United States, and a lot of us got jobs at SBC. Okay? That's the real. The United States, you wondering why you not working, why you over here worried about this eclipse? Do you know when you think you're calling India on customer service, do you know they're actually here in the United States? Do you know there are literally warehouses in the United States that only hire Filipinos or Indians? And when you call customer service, you think you're really calling India. You may be talking shit. No, and they're right here. They're in warehouses. Okay? Right here. So there's a lot of shit going on with the United States. So what they're also talking about, the East Indians are saying that the United States will pay them to go to other countries like Africa, like the Caribbean islands, to do research and then basically leave the country. So that's why in a lot of those countries, there's a lot of abandonment, because they didn't already got the resources that they needed. Okay? So when we talk AI writing Black people out of history or even out of the market of AI, then we have to understand there's money put behind certain cultures. See, it doesn't, like, for example, if you have Howard University, then there should be what is it called, a STEM program, a bio program, or whatever, with endowments and investments, so Black people can go to those schools or whatever HBCUs. It should be some kind of investment. There should be a STEM program, maybe targeted, but then you had the alt-right Asians come in and do the bidding of the Jewish man who was up there playing games with affirmative action and giving the illusion that black people were using the resource of affirmative action. No, it was white women, it was other cultures using the frequencies of affirmative action. So we didn't get our resources that we were supposed to have. Okay, and not to say that black people fucked up, because again, they went to India recruiting, as they can go into neighborhoods and so on and recruit. Okay, so we have to kind of be careful when we act like black people are not trying to get into a certain sector, because there are many black engineers who have tried to get jobs at Facebook and so on and Google, and they are not hired. When I went to Facebook and I peeped the whole game, and I seen only 2 black people, the rest of them were Indians and white boys. Okay, so we have to be real on the demographics of what's going on before we have this type of frequency going on. But these are the conversations going on as this whole eclipse was popping off on social media. Because the other energy that I've talked about before is the robotic chip. So we better really investigate this robotic witchcraft, cyber magic, cyber witchery that's going on. Because if I go back to what I had to really understand what's going on, the robotic arm. They're literally, and I believe what they're doing is putting a chip, like if your arm is amputated or accident, whatever, and you still have nerves and so on in your arm, they literally putting a chip in your arm that reads the robotic arm. Okay? Well, it gets better because, like, for example, let me see here. And I don't know if I wrote this down correctly, but it was a TED talk. So we already know about those TED Talks, right? So with the TED Talk, it was this energy, I think it's called CEIBS. This man is the Antichrist. He's trying to create an atheist society, okay? Bill Gates is just the name. There's energies behind these people that they have paid for frequencies as you're focused on the eclipse, right? So he was talking about chipping. So they want to they want to reestablish and recreate what spirit is and what is really having what we call the spiritual gift. And you're going to be so tricked and bamboozled that you're really going to think people out here are really supernatural and have small wonders. You're really going to believe these people are X-Men. They're not. You really going to believe that they didn't went to Harry Potter school. They did not. What they're doing is giving an illusion of spirituality by using chips. And we have to be careful because chippery coming with crystals, which is what I say is kryptonite. This is as you're focusing on the eclipse. This is the shit that's popping up on social media. So anyway, he was talking about putting a chip in one's brain, okay? And let's say you, my friend, you and friends, I chip, you chip. I live your life, you live my life. We're doing a whole VR energy, right? I'm around here moving shit. And I'm like, that's pretty serious because that shit is already happening on cell phones when it's picking up your energy. Okay? It's already happening. You can't even talk without the cell phone picking up your conversation. The next thing you know, it's on your feed. So now what they're doing is chipping people so you can have superpowers. And they want to conquer the world with this and get rid of religion. Because remember the talks that happened back around 2016, 2017, and it was a Bill Gates talk with other people having this conversation of getting rid of religion and basically creating an elixir or serum to get rid of religion. So basically they want a world of atheists. And it's working quite well because they have you. I'm going to get to that in a minute. Let me put this over here. So anyway, within this talk, he said monkey. He said, yes, we did laboratory testing. Now, allegedly there's a degree Like for example, they've been talking about that neural link or whatever that what Elon Musk is doing, and apparently Elon Musk is in trouble allegedly because animals and shit and some people are dying due to this neural link, and they said there's a degree of gravitation of doing testing. You're supposed to start off harassed and you go bigger and higher, because remember in psychology, especially old school, they use dogs, cats, and all type of stuff. Well, apparently there's a degree to this. Okay, this is why you're peeping the eclipse. So anyway, in this conversation, because apparently Elon Musk is in trouble getting sued due to that Neuralink. Let me come over here. So then he said the monkey, laboratory monkey, test monkey, his back was broken. So basically he said his back, he said his back was broken back. I said, that's very layman type of vocabulary. Interesting. So then he looped back and said spinal cord injury. I said, he must be chipped. Okay, so then he said the monkey had a spinal cord injury. They put lower body paralyzed. So I guess this will also work for paraplegics, depending. So they put a chip in the brain and a chip where the monkey is paralyzed. Okay, and the nerve and energy is supposed to read. And then he said the monkey could walk again. I didn't know monkeys could walk. You know I'm crazy as fuck. I thought they just swing. Oh yeah, they sure do. Maybe I'm thinking of chimpanzee. I don't know. So anyway, he said the monkey can walk again. I said, that's fucking Kevin Hart. Is Kevin Hart the monkey? And I'm not going to get all into that because, they had to basically reboot him. I said, is that why he goes missing sometime? Or the person allegedly Kevin Hart? Is this what's going on? Think about that for a moment. Okay? So basically, he's saying that this allows the brain to communicate again with the lower body. So this chip, but it's always in the brain, has to communicate with different parts of the body. So you kind of got to think about sports. Are these people really good? Or is it a chip in their brain that helps them maneuver as you're focusing on the eclipse? Okay? Because you heard me say that he wants to create, or they want to create, and I'm saying they because these are organizations. You got to understand what's going on. These are organizations. This is not so much the government, because there's no more government, because we are governed by organizations. That's why they try to censor and create new rules. Okay, because we're under business type of frequency, right? So how do you get rid of religion? You create social media, because ever since this eclipse, I've been noticing these new type of gypsies. There's all these tarot readings since the eclipse. It is like back to back, back to back. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? You have hags coming out. When I seen let me see here. What's her name? When I seen Jasmine Guy, I said, what's going on here? And she talking about Tupac. That's a hag spirit. We got hags out here doing work. And some of you will be like, that's wrong. No, she's a hag. The energy then came out on her face. I have a spiritual constituent said they seen her in person. And they said it was Creature Features and Fright Night at the same fucking time. So we got to stop playing games with people and stop being, talking about bullying. No, that's witchcraft. That's witchery. That is a hag. And it makes me think, what have she done in her life, or get to a place that she's looking like a hag that even plastic surgery can't even fix it, bitch? Man, and the same thing with Jennifer Lopez. I'm like, she's only in her 50s, right? What's going on here? I know she get Botox and all that shit done. That's a hag. We got a lot of hags out here. So just like the eclipse, there were a whole bunch of hags, a whole bunch of men, warlocks, and the rest of them out here doing fucking spell work. That's why it was so much shit going on, and negativity and darkness and just nastiness. Believe you better best believe if you got some fucking enemies, bitch, they was out there doing work around that eclipse. Because you got to understand, the darkness is to die off and the light is the new birth in their heads. But whatever it is, they're looking at, it's a new dawn. It's a new frequency. It's a new, as we say, crucifixion type of energy. So you got these people coming out. I mean, this new Indian, and I keep trying to warn y'all, this new Indian energy coming out. And these are the people with the dots. And I understand those are different type of people. They on social media like fucking gypsies. They out here telling you some gypsy ass lies. Then what's also uprooting is the culture of those deities and stuff like that they use. And I'm seeing and I'm learning more and more because it's on social media ever since this eclipse. I'm noticing those deities are all men, including the ones that appear, your Kalis and Shiva, whatever. Those are all men. And those are men that are very Baphomet-like, half woman, half man, but they're all men. And notice that 99% of the time, when men are actually trying to become the supposed deities, I'm seeing this more even in Ifa Santeria, that the men are dressing as the female Orishas, Oshun, and all that, wearing the skirts. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then making excuses and walking up to the Babalao and so on. Okay? So I'm like, what is this frequency? So the more that we are on social media putting our spiritual energies out, they had the Santa Muerte, Holy Death, Pages of Death. They had the Indians out cutting up. They had the tarots cutting up. They have the zodiac astronomy people out there cutting up. They got the Wiccans out there cutting up. They showing how they running around putting shit on people's doors. They out there cutting up, the pagans and Wiccans and so on. They got the warlocks out there telling you what it is, what it ain't. They have the Satanists out telling you what it is, what it ain't. What is funny, the funny thing is what you don't see are the Christians out praying, because that's the energy that rebukes every fucking thing, and they shut down the church. So you got to understand, on that Sunday before the eclipse, the preacher's already telling his congregation, pray for the world, pray for yourself. This is how you handle it. Then that Monday, the preacher and the deacons are at the church praying with the mothers of the church, or as you guys call it, the prayer warriors. See, that's the way that's supposed to work. See, but they got rid of the church and the real fucking church. So you got a fake church. Okay. So the bottom line is that was the real energy, because when you had that frequency in the past, even though some of you like, oh, churches, I don't give a fuck what you saying, that rebuked a lot of shit. Well, my grandmother this, well, you still here. So that means she prayed for your black ass, right? So they're creating an antichrist type of spirit of atheists. And I'm going to get into really the eclipse with that. So let me move on. So then I'm up here, social media again. I'm just doing my research to get my honorary PhD, right? So I'm just researching like what the fuck is really going on with these frequencies. So then a nurse and a doctor came up, started talking about estrogen, okay, and talking about how hysterectomies, of course, hinders estrogen for women. Then they got to talk about menopause, and they was talking about where the estrogen is stored, which is the lower part of the woman's abdomen. Part of the woman's, I guess, part of where it comes from is the woman's abdomen, and the healthy fat is important, and that's why women, of course, carry more weight in their bellies and so on. And I was like, that's very interesting. And as they were talking, I started thinking about the witchcraft and the psychosis of Black women. why in the fuck are you getting plastic surgery when certain fats in our body help our mental health? If estrogen is produced in the lower part of the abdomen, or partially whatever produced, I'm not a doctor, so let me say that, but we have understanding of this, then how do you keep getting tummy tucks and all of this stuff? Wouldn't that hinder the natural source of frequency of your body and how it flows? When I seen that, somebody forwarded over to me that poly, that is a disgusting type of frequency, and that is a psychosis, and that is a mental health issue. And in a minute, she's going to be in asylum because they are fucking her all up. And it's so insulting and disgraceful what they're doing with poly. And Zeus need to be shut the fuck down, because I'm hearing, and I seen it in my comments, that they have plastic surgeons on I guess on the list, on contract. However, in the comments, it was because I was talking about Sky's mother. They were saying that they're hiring these plastic surgeon doctors who do botched surgeries. I believe that most definitely, because some of them surgeries are whack. But when I looked at a little bit, whatever the trailer of the documentary, I was pretty appalled, because I said, how are you doing plastic surgery on a person who have mental illness? Okay, that's where it is. You cannot correct fat and the issue by doing plastic surgery, and the plastic surgery is not going to correct the mental issue that caused the fat, plain and simple. Okay, that's an energy that you got to keep working with that person and see what the issues are. Somebody even said she need to get on lap band beforehand. Now, she don't even need to get on lap band. She got to figure out why she a big girl. That's the real shit. And once you figure out why you a big girl, then you can work from there and whatever you do. It doesn't matter if you're on Ozempic, no matter what it is. And I'm just very concerned, because then I said that fucks up her whole body chemistry and the estrogen. Then I started thinking, how in the fuck are black women even singing? How can you sing? Because you need certain frequencies within the body and the frame. If you doing plastic surgery, your ass can't sing. If you up there getting your breasts done and all that, that messes up the vocal cords and everything else, allegedly, right? And if you getting your lips done, how can you stretch and do what you need to do? So doesn't that affect the ability? That's fucking spell work. That is sabotage. As you guys are sitting up there tripping off a fucking eclipse, this is the shit that they're talking about on social media. Okay? What's also very interesting is in social media, they're out here trying to peer pressure people to do and censor, do what the fuck they want to do. But in the 90s, they used to tell us not to be peer pressure. So why are they peer pressuring? Did you ever think about that? We just talking about witchcraft and bewitchery, right? We just talking about the eclipse, right? And then, as you already know, the 99-cent store is closing. I was up in the fucking nail shop, and a Latina worked there. She looked at me. She said, the 99-cent store is closing. Oh, everybody is there. And I said, for real? I don't shop there. Then I was fronting like fuck. I said, I wish she'd hurry up with these goddamn nails so I could get some of that discount stuff. Then I started thinking to myself, I said, why would they be closing? Then when they started to show how expensive the 99-cent store is, I said, this is like Alaska charging those high prices. The whole reason is to have discounted prices. Then I got concerned, because then you have people, the way this economy is, they can't afford food out here. This was another resource and source to buy food or whatever it is. It's not our business. But I said, that's pretty fucked up. Then they say another chain is going to come in, allegedly buy it and leave some stores open. Okay? That's where it is. So anyway, while you guys are worried about the eclipse, another frequency came about talking about autism, what happened in Florida. And apparently a pastor said, I'm about tired of you motherfuckers out here talking about your kid got fucking autism, and you keep titling your kid autism and all that shit. And this supposed to be some kind of Christian school in Florida. So the pastor then sat up and sent an email to you niggas, and he then said, don't come here with that autism shit. That's fucking demonic and a demon. I said, oh. Then when that rolled out, then something else rolled out with the Netherlands approving people to get euthanized, and I guess euthanasia. And I said, damn, that word euthanasia, at the end of it, the word Asia as Caucasian. We gotta look at that. What is that frequency with Asia and damn a Caucasian? And Asian at the end, right? So anyway, in the Netherlands, now this came around like 2022. Apparently, this young woman had ADHD and autism and other depressive mental issues like bipolarism and so on. But it's not death. It's not chronic, right? So apparently the Netherlands, you could basically get medically euthanized if you feel that it's something that you can't live with something and you need approval by doctor and psychiatry. And apparently the psychiatrist approved for her to basically kill herself in so many words and say there was nothing else they can do. And again, she had depression, autism. This is allegedly depression, autism, some forms of bipolarism. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Then I started to really wonder, is this why they're pushing this energy? Because in psychology, basically, if you can't be fixed, they'll just knock you out. If you have any imperfections, I'm just kind of paraphrasing what they were saying in psychology, that in some countries they just get rid of you. So she's not perfect. She's not an A cell. She's a D cell. We can't have D cells. You got to be thrown out. If you a B cell, you barely making it. But you can't be, D and C, okay? Or C and D, whatever. The bottom line is that that's just what it is. So we got to be careful of this, because on social media, you have silly ass black women getting their asses on there talking about they on the spectrum of autism. I said, what in the world is going on a spectrum of autism? This is during the time of the eclipse. They talking about that they're on the spectrum or have autism, and they are creating families. I said, so you telling me I gotta warn my son about autism females that may have hypersexuality? I don't care. The fuck is this? Some of you out there be talking about, no, some of them are highly functional. And then that's what the black women were saying. They were highly functional autism people. I'm with the pastor. Something is demonic. If you getting on social media saying what it is and what it ain't. Meanwhile, in the Netherlands, you could get euthanized for having autism and some parts of ADHD or bipolarism. Did y'all hear about Spotify and shit being sued for having fake streaming and giving people money and shit? Making people famous who shouldn't be famous? Did y'all hear about the Band-Aids being toxic like Band-Aid and having something called fluorine in it and poisoning the fuck out of our asses? Did you hear about that? You didn't hear about that. Did you hear about that firefighter who was a whistleblower who's out on $75,000 bail allegedly? I don't know when this happened because it popped up during the eclipse. And he's a whistleblower because he found out that governmental officials were plotting on killing over 75,000 people or something, some kind of whistleblower. Did y'all hear about that one? And he got caught for wiretapping, trying to cause a massacre. And they want to lock him up. I think his name is Adam. Did y'all see that new energy coming out, that documentary about Sandy Hook and and Alex Jones? How that was just a whole entertainment act, that shit was on cap, that it was just an energy, just, you know, for sensationalism. That whole court case, did y'all see that? Mm-hmm. Something's going on here that they were able to allegedly sue him. What is the corporate company? What is the organization? Who's investing in this? We just having conversation, right? Right? During the eclipse, did you hear about on the black web and FBI documents and documents that didn't came out? They was talking about Noriega. It was it the Panamanian. It was is he's the Panamanian president, right? Noriega, or is that Philippines? No, that's the Marcos. Okay, Noriega. Did you hear about how they found him allegedly? How they went in and cut his dick balls and put it in his mouth? Did y'all hear about that one? Because you know when they went in there, he had all that Orisha stuff up in there, right? However, a lot of Yemaya energy, but apparently he was not in a good state. They went and cut his balls off and his penis and put it in his mouth allegedly, as you guys were paying attention to the eclipse. Okay? Did y'all see that? I have a question. This was up until the eclipse. Eric Mays, wasn't he was he the supervisor in Michigan, Detroit? Now, how in the hell we were up there laughing and giggling at the memes of Eric Mays, or is it Eric Mays? Then he just died, and we have no fucking questions. It's just he just lost. He just forgotten. Nobody asked, like, damn, what happened? How did that happen? How does he just die at home in his sleep? What the fuck is going on here? Was he already dead and we didn't know? I'm just saying, were those videos old videos of him in interviews? How does that happen? That's why it doesn't pay to get notoriety and have people interview you and all that. And next thing you know, you dead and you don't know why that person dead. How is it that we were so entertained by him, but we have no fucking questions of how this man just dead? As you worried about the eclipse. What type of ADHD is that with us? That doesn't make sense. What the fuck is going on with Dwight Howard as we worried about the eclipse? First, he's over there in the Philippines and they kept calling him Superman. Then now he's over there in the Middle East. What's going on with him? And when he was in the Philippines, he was in his underwear and he was taking pictures and shit. What the fuck is going on with that with Dwight Howard? What is this energy going on with Queen Elizabeth that didn't come out that didn't came out after the eclipse of saying that her death is irreversible? That means that they were soul transferring her. That means that she was getting close to death. They was trying to transfer the soul, the breath out into somebody else. That's above y'all pay grade. They may not be what it is, but I'm saying when I'm hearing her death is irreversible, that means that she's just dead. She's just close to death. That makes a lot of sense to what's going on in Buckingham. They transfer souls. See this, I'm not saying that's what they do, but there's a form of transferring souls. When a person gets close into a certain frequency, you could transfer the soul. And it seemed like that's what they was trying to do here, but some of you guys don't understand that. And it makes me look at King Charles, and I'm thinking, was that supposed to be transferred into him? And is that why he was airlifted wherever he was airlifted out of Buckingham a couple of weeks ago? So that lets you know not only are they inbreeding, but they doing soul transfers. And in some cases, with some soul transfers, they use, some breaths. Okay. That's where that energy is. And what the fuck is going on with Vontae Davis? because I guess his brother is in the NFL. This doesn't make sense. They said he walked out of his sauna and got what passed the fuck out. But then I'm a little curious about him because he seemed like he has a little bit of autism. There's some kind of disorder going on with him. Okay, so we don't know what's going on with that because when they had that scene of him getting cut and he said he need to call his grandmother, I said he seemed a little interesting, right? We just talking as you guys are focused on the eclipse. And then over here we have this actor Cole Brings. I'm assuming he is a Native American, and they're saying he and his girlfriend had domestic and his girlfriend cut his ponytails, cut his long hair, and then all of a sudden he ends up dead. This is a weird energy, and I guess he was on this show called it was an American Western drama called 1923. So that makes a lot of sense to why I've been seeing a lot of, I'm going to say Native Americans. I'm going to call black people indigenous because I need that for my head. From my head. So fuck what you saying. So I'm gonna have to call them natives. I'm gonna call us indigenous. So anyway, the Native Americans been on this campaign saying, talking about the history and so on, and don't cut the hair. So basically their hairstyle is a protective order, and I've been hearing that lately, especially in the Latino culture, where cornrows and braids are, it's a protective hair. Then I said, if they're yelling protective hairstyles, then how in the fucking Texas and Louisiana there's a conflict of hair braiding? That's why I said hair braiding is a cultural frequency that is a protective class, just like doing dreadlocks, and for you and then for you black excellent niggas, locks, that's a protective energy. We don't back up our shit with no fucking money. We just sit up and do a whole bunch of talking. Just like I think Erykah Badu backs up this uh energy from Texas, and I guess she's some kind of hair braider, and she's up there looking like African Bombada. But meanwhile, you have other cultures rallying behind themselves, creating a protective energy, a protective culture, a protective hairstyle. And some people say, well, that's petty, but a lot of times you can't give a fuck. See, we give a fuck about what other people saying, but this whole thing about this Cole Brings, this is a very interesting case, similar to Vante. So people just, dying and there's no reason, as you stuck in the eclipse, huh? Okay. There's an energy going around with the CIA officer admitting that they get lifers to lie on people and to nudge them. They call it nudging, to lie on people so they could get incarcerated, because the person they interviewed undercover said that we could put anybody in jail and we can have anybody testify and say that something is what it is. And again, they said they choose lifers to do this, or they can, nudge people to lie on people. That's something to know, which is part of the legalese energy. But I said, damn, they didn't caught his ass, and people saying we want to get rid of CIA, FBI, and DOJ. The DOJ. So anyway, as you guys were focused on the eclipse, they were talking about there's a new corporate entity called social credit scoring. And it is a business aspect system in the US that they have forced and put in place, and you didn't know it, because we have corporate businesses that came in and put it in effect. It's not governmental, it is a business. So therefore, there are outside entities outside the Americas who have bought up different energies that are business type or private business, and private companies that have created this energy called ESG score. And let me see here if I can see the full frequency of what they're talking about, because I said this is very interesting. Basically what they're saying is a social credit score. They're saying is similar to Chinese Communist Party social credit system. They're saying that they said it is use CCP standard of adherence of ruling a regime. It said instead of based on social justice standards. Okay. And ESG means environmental and social governance. So therefore, they're in your business. They're looking on your credit card. They're looking on your ATM card. They seeing what the fuck you buy. If you buy anything that's negative, then they score you based on that. That's like that energy that they have online to score your personality trait. The first time I seen it was on what's her name, and they scored her poor as a poor person, meaning poor in personality type and everything else. So this is how they're monitoring us. They can't monitor us one way, but they can try to monitor us in another way. So this is why they say America has been bought in this corporate type of energy, and there's no more government, because within government this allegedly can't happen. However, in corporate or business source, this type of shit can happen. So basically, you buy a gun, they look at how you what's on your, like, literally they're in your bank account. They're looking at your statements to see the what's up, so they can score you in this universal soul. And again, they said most Americans wouldn't go for this, but they enforced it. So say you work at a job and this is what they enforced and you didn't know, as you're focusing on a fucking eclipse. More or less, they're out here, and then underneath your nose in New York, and this is what's popping up. They're talking about um, your governor in New York. What's her name? Kathy Hochul. Basically, they didn't sat up and voted and then reversed that whole quarantine and isolation energy. Basically, they're saying that they can literally decide if you are contaminated and come in your goddamn house, and basically take you about your house without age or whatever, so you can have a newborn, and they'll take your kid, and then they have the right to medicate your kid. They have the right to medicate you, and you don't have any rights, period. So basically what they're saying is, so they're saying, and I don't know about now, but basically they're supposed to be appealing this. So the courts went back. First they were against it, then they went back and reversed it. So understand, and then they saying, let's move the fuck out of New York. Okay. So I said, damn. So I don't know about it now, because this actually came out in 2023, but it uprooted itself of how also your governor wants to dictate and censor your voice there, and they want to get rid of online hate or hate speeches, and they want to create their own narratives that is safe for the people. But that means that she's being backed from some kind of governmental entity. These are things, as I said, this is going on during the eclipse. This is what's uprooting. Allegedly, Nancy Pelosi got arrested, and she got arrested a minute ago. And I'm like, and I kept looking and looking. I said, no, she's arrested. She got handcuffs. There's a person holding her arm and putting her head in this car. And people were trying to say it didn't happen. No, she got arrested, and you can clearly see it. I don't know what she got arrested about, because apparently she got some kind of subpoena from some kind of third party district. Allegedly, she was served at, I guess, in Congress. I don't know. And for some kind of criminal hearing or whatever is going on. And so they subpoenaed her, whatever is going on. But this energy, they said it happened a while ago. And somebody else was saying that she been incarcerated for since last year. So this is all allegedly, but this is why they want to censor you. They don't want us to know that these people out here getting arrested. They don't want us, they only want us to pay attention to TMZ and be concerned about a dang a solar eclipse. Okay? And this is the kind of shit that then uprooted. This uprooted actually this morning. Okay? And the other shit with her being subpoena uprooted itself on Monday. During the eclipse, remember, we were supposed to have been hiding our kids, hiding our mother, hiding our daddies. And then the day of the eclipse, at the same time of the eclipse, apparently Joe Biden was doing some kind of conference. I think he was in Wisconsin talking about some kind of financial and lowering some kind of financial strain on Americans. But I thought you said for us to be scared and shit. Okay? Kamala Harris in between this time and what is uprooted, they said then they're blaming it on her. But I said, this is nothing new. I've heard this with her before, especially in San Francisco. Apparently she has a red flag law that basically somebody just can tattletale on you and say that you're not handling your gun properly, and then they'll just come take away your gun. Which is a very interesting accusation. Kind of ties into that other law that your neighbor just can complain about you and say that they don't like you, they don't trust you, and this and that, and which can cause the police to come to your house. Well, in this case, they're saying that this particular energy has an investment of, they said allegedly $1 billion. I don't know if it's that much, but again, it's called red flag laws. Yeah, here it is. A third-party subpoena Nancy Pelosi criminal case served to produce documents, as you guys are worried about the eclipse. Chinese rocket allegedly explodes over the United States. They said it really happened over California. In addition to, they're saying that Russian ships are in the water. That's where that is. So again, however, Statue of Liberty, the lightning hit the Statue of Liberty. We're finding out now. People talking about is a Luciferian, is Lucifer. But then, let alone, they've been telling black women for years that the Statue of Liberty is a replica of her, is a representation of her. No, it's fucking not. They lied. It is a fucking, what's it called? Khaleesi's of the roads. That is what it is. It is a man. And in reality, the chains are immolating the devil, the Lucifer, whatever you want to be, a little layman, getting out of hell. And so that makes a lot of sense of what's going on. So we need to stop with some of these history lies that they give us, and because we want to be part of whatever energy so bad because something is similar, but this is connected to a Greek entity, allegedly, and I believe it. But a spiritual constituent said something very interesting. They said, how in the fucking, who built the Statue of Liberty and how did it fucking get there? As you focus on the eclipse. Meanwhile, this is what's happening in New York. And you New York people, you guys don't need to be in any more fucking earthquakes. I don't need to see any more shaking going on and your ass run up out the fucking house. If there's an earthquake, where are you going? And then the cats are all fucking confused. They looking at each other like, what the fuck just happened? And okay. And so you see people running out their fucking house. They all in confusion of what's going on. And I was cracking up. I said, damn, they out there tripping. So anyway, again, you're focused on the eclipse, the solar eclipse. Here we go. All the way up until this eclipse, there's been some interesting frequencies going on, right? And the frequencies that's been going on, we've had lightning, we've had the lunar eclipse, we've had, they call it the star Tetaria, you know how I pronounce it, but what it is, what it ain't. Saturn has been on the loose. Saturn has been so close to the earth that you will think it's the sun. It's not the sun, it's Saturn. And Saturn just been representing itself, right? Just this, I think the 6th of the 6th, which was Saturday at 6:09 in the morning, we had an energy, and I'm starting to think that was, somebody was saying either that was Uranus. I'm thinking it was a star. It was on the way from Long Beach in the universal soul that the police was tripped out and was angled, and so, and it wasn't that dang Nebru or whatever you guys niggas love saying. This was a total different frequency. So these are the stars been out, Saturn been out. Saturn been close to the earth. I don't care what they talking about. Um, in addition to, uh, of course, there's been a lot of health frequencies of nausea, headaches, and so on, right? Rain, weather. Here's something that we should understand before we get to the eclipse. April 8th, 4.8 earthquake in New York or New Jersey, accompanied by Exodus, scripture 4, verse 8. The book of Exodus. The book of Exodus is what's governing this whole energy. We have to understand the Bible for what it is. The Bible is a mixture of practical and spirit together. Let's look at this. Let's look at this for a minute. We have people, you guys are interested in the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds. We even have Mars Candy Bar, which is owned by Jewish people. A lot of these candy bars, Snickers and all of that is Jewish based, right? And I found something very interesting about how Jewish people move. And we have variations of Jewish people. Then we have the hybrids, and then we have what we call, you guys like to call, the authentic. The reason why I'm bringing this up, because we have to look at Exodus. The Bible has been rewritten over and over, and they keep taking the spirit out of it. But there is spirit in it. It's spirit mixed with practical. Okay? That's what it is. They have taken rituals, they have taken folklore, they have taken these energies and hid them and then give you a piece. Black people, we are already spiritual, so we can read against anything, right? When you go back to Exodus, Exodus is a man-written frequency with some spirit, but it's testing your pimping where you think is the Lord talking to you. Let me tell you something, and I said this to my spiritual constituents because I wanted them to sit on it and think about it. The scripture 4.8 is saying that in so many words that Moses is talking to his God, and he's saying that the people do not believe them. There is a spirit or a God. There's something that is a supernatural power, right? So the God told him, your rod. So he had this rod and he turned that rod into a snake. Then all of these superpower things started happening, from the splitting of the sea, just like in Australia. As you guys are worried about the eclipse, they were talking about how this man was driving down the street, driving down the highway of a desert, and the desert just split open, water uprooted itself with fish. Just different things are visually happening, and we are supposed to believe this. Rumor of wars, earthquakes in strange places, weather, all of this frequency, and we miss the real energies, right? Okay, so what I'm saying to you, when you go back to Exodus and you read every part of it, even the 10 commandments and the laws, whatever you want to understand it, you will understand that is a man who rewrote it and recreated for us to understand visual, because the spirit would never tell you to how can I say, the spirit wouldn't sit up and say, hey, prove to them what it is. That's not good discernment. That means you don't have good discernment if you don't understand that that was written by man. That's why the world works the way it works, because we got to prove to you. I don't believe nothing unless I see it, unless it's scientific. I have a person, a spiritual constituent, I'm going to call her a biologist. And I listened to her and I asked her, I said, what does all this mean? What does all this science that you're doing mean at the end of the day? And how does it fulfill you? Because at the end of the day, if we didn't have science or what you're doing, we would still live. And that is hard for people to understand. Not saying in some cases science isn't important, but you got to understand science is spirit and spirit is science. But when you take the spirit out of it, then it becomes practical and mundane. Then you just do any fucking thing. But when you go back to the word and you understand that the Bible is written in man form mixed in with some spirituality, that means you have to have some discernment. Because just that scripture alone is telling us that everything is happening to prove to man that there's a God. God is God. God don't have shit to prove. Either you believe or you don't. Either you believe in the Holy Spirit, you believe in the Holy Ghost, or you believe in some kind of spiritual energy, or you don't. And of course, I'm going to give people, I don't give a fuck. This is what it is, and you understand it the way you understand it, or you don't, and that's okay. That's why you do have people like, the Hebrew Israelites, the Islams, and all of this always have to have their input. And I'm going to be real with you. Nobody is right and nobody is wrong. It's all about perception. It's just like if you write a paper and you doing your dissertation and you go somewhere and you do research and that's what you understand, and you could get a different person to go to that same location and understand something differently. They're not right. You not right. They're not wrong, and you not wrong. It's just what it is. It's just how it's all in perception. And when I'm looking at this, I can clearly see the man in the Bible, because the man is telling you every fucking thing that's going to happen. And then the Bible is written by Masons. That is a certain corporate group of frequencies. That's why they give you dates. Okay? If we were to go back to Easter, and you had all these people talking about, I don't believe in Easter, I don't believe in this. Okay, but Easter, if we take away the novelty, Easter, Eastern star, Eastern woman, woman is East is feminine. East is the energy of God that created that energy. Then you have, what is it, the wise, no, that's Easter. Then you have the energies, because how can I say this? All of that connects. The Eastern energy connects into Christ. Okay? That's why it's all about woman. Christ is also connected to crucifixion. It's like you live, you die, you born, all of that. Because I'm going to get into the three wise men. Because if I go back to Christmas, as they call it, which is not the original day, see, that's where things are confusing. That's why I incorporated Easter, because it all ties into the crucifixion. It's just all one whop and glop, if that makes sense. Because here it goes. The 24th is the creation of Earth. That's what it's saying, right? That's the first moon. The 24th is the first moon, which is, we get into the winter energies, right? Over here, you have springtime, which is your sun energy. Then you get into your summer, which is still your sun, but it's really Venus, which is as they call it, the sun. Then you get into fall, which is your other moon. So there's 2 moons and 2 suns. It tells you right there. And when you look in the universe, you can see it. So then over here, when you have your supposed 3 wise men and your Eastern and the supposed birth of the universe, because the 3 is complete. The 3 is the number, but 3 is woman. 3 is not men. 3 is like your doulas and whatever, and you have your higher source, which is 4. See, it's like a whole energy, and it can go over and beyond the universe. Then it taps back into the crucifixion, because then the Eastern energy, the Eastern star energy comes back into the crucifixion. Then the wise energy, which is the 3, which is the cross, as we want to call it, goes back into the 3. But then it was not a lunar eclipse, it was a solar eclipse during the crucifixion. So all those energies that was there at the birth of Christ was there at the end of Christ. So when people are around here talking about, I don't believe in the resurrection, I don't believe in Eastern star, Eastern, you are denouncing the spirit, and you are denouncing the Holy Ghost, and you are denouncing your spiritual growth. You're saying, I don't believe in spirit. That's what you're saying. I believe in man. I believe in the 7 wonders. I believe in the rod turning into the snake. I believe in the 7 seas. I believe into all these visuals. That's why you're going to be lost in wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. You're going to be lost. That's why it says that. It is to continuously have you lost. While you talk about the matrix, you're in it. So when we talk these eclipses, you got to understand, you have to go back into what the word says. And in reality, we should not be fucking around with the eclipse, because the eclipse is connected to crucifixion. That's why it was closed. That's why they moved Easter to the 31st, because Easter is after the eclipse. Okay? So we have to understand these frequencies. So in reality, when you looked up in the universal soul, the moon never crossed the sun. The moon was still sitting. The moon was still sitting in its place. So what moon was that? What was that? And then someone, in DC, I seen the pictures. I was like, okay, you can clearly see there's something up. In California, you could see the same thing. The funny thing is, when I was looking at it, it was an interesting hue, interesting tint on the ground. And it was clear that something was covering the sun. People were complaining that they kept clouding up the universe. Then someone showed me Detroit. I seen on the news where a little boy was trying to set up his telescope, and one of the news anchors or somebody burnt him with something on his face, because he looked at him like, what you doing? And they burnt him. He didn't do it himself. Somebody did it. Somebody in Kentucky, spiritual constituents, was telling me that it was like a heat ray that came down and kind of almost like infrared, like a beam of light. And it had the energies. I'm doing a video. Can you close the door? I'm doing a video. Can you close the door? I'm almost done. Yeah, I'm almost done. Close the door. see your feet. So they were saying that it was almost like a radiation. It was like a heat wave that was hitting the ground. I found that very interesting, right?
I'm about to do this exam real quick. You can't come in the living room.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, I can't come?
Yeah, because if it hears any noise, it's going to kick me out.
Okay. Was very interesting after the eclipse. For some reason, I kept feeling earthquakes. And then my son was saying, I was telling him about it. He said, yeah, it was like aftershocks, right? But it was like, but it felt like I was in another dimension. It was like the earthquake wasn't happening in real time, it was happening somewhere else. Or I was in it at a different time. That's a whole other energy. Cause I was like, what? And what's happening is that the dead is going to rise up, and certain energies it's going to happen. Just like it was very interesting to see people in the cemetery in Brooklyn looking at the eclipse. Then I started thinking. I said people need to go back and look at the first purge. The first purge cut people off. In the first purge, first of all, let me say this. In the first purge, this was in 2018, dealing with Rhode Island, I believe. And it was dealing with the eyes and contacts. Then around that time, a couple of years later, they was talking about how they was using some glasses in Africa that was burning the cornea. But then years but all before that, in Haiti, they was stealing corneas. Then they made a big deal about the eclipse glasses. What the fuck is going on? Then in that movie, people were partying just like here. They were partying. And then they amped it up. That means they're going to amp up something else. Then the football stadium, they amped it up. The brother was running the football stadium. Then the racist was trying to kill him, and they had the ABC News. They had them at the damn football field, and they was doing the same thing. They was partying, and I believe it was Indianapolis, I might be wrong, Ohio, and Niagara Falls was and I think it was, yeah, being recorded. And I was like, because I looked at it in both perspectives. Then it was a trip. It went dark, then it went light, then it hued, meaning it tinted. Then I realized ABC had filters on the screen. I said, this is filters. Okay? So when you go back to this first purge, just like in Maryland, the bridge, and then stuff been going on with the freeways and things falling on bridges, then it's like cutting off communication. Then again, people going crazy, putting on contacts. What the fuck? The person, the spiritual constituent in Kentucky saying they seen like a heat wave. What the fuck? It makes me think like in Arkansas when they was closing the banks, what they thought in within 3 minutes somebody was going to rob the bank in the dark. I'm trying to understand. Okay. This movie is very important because you're going to see similarities to what happened during the uh during the eclipse. I'm going to look at something else here that I found interesting. If I can find it. Was also on social media when you guys were distracted. It said injection roll out started on December 14th of 2020. They're talking about the whoop wop, which was the exact halfway point between the two eclipses. So they're talking about the eclipse that was on August 21st, 2017. Then they're talking about the other rollout of, and I don't know here, but they talk about in between the December 20th, December 2020. Then here, they're saying April 8th was another rollout. What's happening here? And the number systems. So they're doing numerology, the 333s, which you understand those are the higher sources. And then when you get with the number system, you understand that it ends up in the 9. And 9 can be birth, it can mean birth, or it can mean death. Something that will die will come new. And what that means is something will die off to bring something new. New birth, new energy, new frequency. That's why CERN was partying. Did y'all see that one? Did y'all see CERN? And then the spiritual constituents was telling me about HARP. Right? But here's something very interesting. Let me go back here. When I'm talking about HARP, there's another frequency called Fermilab that's in the States. There's different conductors and frequencies hidden around the United States that contributes to a lot of the energies of the universal soul. You know there's something wrong when they say NASA said it's okay to use eclipse glasses or whatever they call solar eclipse glasses. They didn't tell you a physician. They didn't tell you, I guess, an optometrist. They didn't give you any medical background. Do you notice they don't give us medical background anymore? They just tell us the FDA or CDC, which are organizations. So NASA is an organization that told you it's okay to go out there with certain eye gear. We have to understand what's going on in this universal soul. But CERN had a whole ritual going on. And there's a ritual going on now. I don't know when they were doing these rituals, when they had that dang goat and shit in effect. Them people, and it reminded me of a Kanye West concert. I said, damn, these people be in their organizations. See, we didn't understand the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and all of them are organizations. We didn't understand that they were Jewish people that changed their names. We didn't understand that they're the ones who really created and molded the Freemason energy. Because first of all, when you go to a Jewish cemetery, you will see a lot of them have the symbols more than the Irish, more than anyone else, them. Okay. So what I'm saying to you, a lot of these organizations are really Jewish people who didn't change their last name. And I was discussing with my son, with my ancestry. I seen that with my ancestor. He came from Israel. He went through Ellis Island. He changed his last name, the time he hit New York. Then he changed his name to the new last name name, and then he went to New Jersey, then I don't know what else, and the next thing you know, we have this last name. And when you go back and research, you will find that his sisters and his ancestors had a different last name, just like Marilyn McCoo. Marilyn McCoo allegedly is Cuban, and allegedly she changed her last name. A lot of these people are changing their last names, and we don't have a clue. That's what they were saying about that Angel Reese basketball player, allegedly, because she's really Honduran or something like that. But I'm going to get to that in a fucking minute. So anyway, as we really start to look at a lot of these frequencies that's popping off, it was a whole rituals going on. And again, these are organizations. And just like I was looking at something about Orthodox Jews, Orthodox Jews have their own dress shops, wig shops. They have their own Purim, what they call Purim, Purim. They have what they call Shaivism, some kind of security team and whatever I'm pronouncing this. They have Shabbat, of course, celebrations, and then whatever their religion, whatever I call it, celebration, whatever, on the Sabbath. Then they created something called Kosher Lamp 360, because within their culture they can turn on or turn off the lights. So they make sure to cover their ass. They have hotels. They have all of this. They make sure they dress modestly, but they have a lot of rituals, because they were saying a lot of them women be having pregnancies and get rid of them and stuff like that. And shit, they covered their ass even with the whole synagogue. Remember when they had all that shit that went down? They didn't shut that down, and they backed themselves up. It's a whole energy with the Jewish people, especially with them changing their names. At the CERN, they were all, what I seen, they were all white men. I don't know what was going on there. It was a cold ritual, a cold game. So more and more, I'm seeing a lot of Jewish people is in a lot of shit, and it makes me feel like, damn, did they really infiltrate black people? Did they lie to black people big time to infiltrate our frequencies? They the ones who set up and say that we're stupid, we're dumb, we have low vocabulary, low intellectual energies. They said a lot about us, okay? And so when you go back to that whole Jim Crow civil rights movement, that was financed and pushed by them. What the fuck is going on here? Because when you really start to incorporate, and you wonder, how did she go from, I'm talking about the Eclipse, because all this go hand in hand. It doesn't matter what country they're from. There's some financing, and these are all organizations. And when you find out the background of these people, you will understand, just like that affirmative action was backed by who? And the Asians were part of it. They're always backed up by something. Okay, by some kind of money. And when you start to understand, you'll be like, ooh. The anti-Semitic energy, that's on cap. The Bible written by them. When I was looking at Farrakhan's father, I was like, he looked like a Jewish man to me. My question is, what is this frequency? Why do everybody study us? What is going on in this energy? Who are these people in these organizations? Who is CERN? Who is Fumland, whatever, that's in Michigan? Who is this? What the fuck is going on? Who is in CERN? Who's in HARP? What is that? Well, how did we understand the Rockefellers and Rothschilds to be ahead of everything? How did they get part of NASA? How were they able to tell us about the universal soul? How were they able to go in and rewrite the Bible and we didn't know it? Right? You guys didn't even know they had sound attached to this eclipse, right? You guys got so bamboozled that you really thought the animals was tripping off the universe. They are around here creating sound that we can't hear. These people are in laboratories and facilities testing sound and frequencies. If a dog can hear a sound and we can't hear it, then what the fuck? Cats can do the same. When you're seeing sheep and goats walking around in circles, that's because there's a tone, there's a sound in the universe that we can't hear. The ducks are still. That's because there's a sound we can't hear. You will know spirit when you see it. And more, I'm looking at all of that. That's not spirit. That's man fucking around with sound and energy like sound bowls. And during the time of the eclipse, there was a person who attached the sound to the universe. Have you ever heard the sounds of Saturn and Mars? And it's by NASA? That's what they did here. That's what they've been doing. As you're focused on the eclipse, right? Do you understand? They can throw this out in the universe and we don't even know what it is in music now, since music is AI. They could take the sound of the fucking whatever that was and incorporate that in music. You were distracted, and you didn't even see on social media that dang Scorpio was telling on himself. He was telling on everybody. You guys got so bamboozled when they told you his son, I'm talking about Puff Daddy's son, got caught on a recording allegedly sexually assaulting a female. I don't trust shit because AI is in effect. How do I know that's true? How do I know that's true? How do you know, and I'm not being rude, how do you know Kim Porter's really dead? How do you know she's not somewhere? There's this video that came out on social media of Puff Daddy allegedly having video, but this is very clear. This looked like, who's this kid? Who's this kid on? This is not the kid that was just born. This is an older kid. Who's this kid? Dwayne Wade, Gabrielle Union, Rita Wilson, Jessica Alba, Naomi Campbell, Jay Belvin, Megan Thee Stallion, Lizzo, Janelle Monáe, Sierra, I guess, and her husband, Swiss Beats, Alicia Keys, Maloma, Chris Brown, DJ Khaled, Snoop Dogg, Mark Wahlberg, I'm not shocked about that, and Kevin Hart. Of course, Justin Bieber, Will Smith, A-Rod, Jennifer Lopez, Oprah, Drake, Tracy Ellis, Rick Ross, Spike Lee, Drea, what's his name, Dapolo? And he said the whole Shaquille O'Neal family and Usher. That wasn't no party. That wasn't no invite to no fucking party. That was him putting out there on the line the what's up back then. And we're just seeing it now. They said that was talked about in 2020. I said in 2020, then what kid did he have in 2020 that big? These people be playing with time. That wasn't a list for no fucking party. That was a list for that was a list. And he was doing it in fucking Joker and Joker and Riddler style. That's why they had him as the Joker. We should have known something was up, and I knew that it was some shit. We were being straight punked. I was telling somebody, I said, young Miami. The only thing that needs to happen with her is to be rebranded into pink cocaine, and pulled from there. She can have a whole new branding. But if we go back to this is what I'm talking about. The games. Shaquille O'Neal, I'm not shocked. You know, they've been talking about him getting his dinky sucked in Louisiana by that damn Angel Reese, allegedly. I said allegedly. I don't know if it's true or not. They just talking about it in Louisiana and saying that she's not even a black American. They're saying she's Honduran. And I thought about that. I said, that's serious as fuck. We're getting blamed for Afro-Latina stuff and Afro Latin stuff, and we're black Americans. That goes back to the national anthem. They have no loyalty to that. And they were saying that she, allegedly through the grapevine of LSU, that she may not graduate, but they were talking about her and her situation with the coach and Shaquille O'Neal and where she comes from. And they talking about she a ranch girl. Allegedly. This is just the spirit of Louisiana. You know, they're going to tell it. And they was just talking about how there's a whole lot of Hondurans there. And we have to understand, black people be singing their ass off with the national anthem. What happened? That's because we're being replaced with other people that look like us, but they don't have any loyalty to the United States. You're just having conversation, right? How come we're not addressing that Cardi B may have went to prison, but she probably didn't go to prison because they made her into Cardi B. She talking about she was about to do 4 years. We need to stop playing with Russell Simmons' daughter and understand this is what they've been doing in Hollywood, selling their kids. Somebody was saying that they think that man is Russell Simmons' handler. We just watched a man sell his daughter. A mother and a father sell their daughter, and they've been doing this. And I feel bad for her because I'm sure she didn't sign up for that. And they probably got her crazy and chipped. And she up there talking about she can't get modeling gigs. That's a cold ritual in front of our face. Well, is her name Aki? I have a question. Is it me, or do I think Jasmine Sullivan and Sasha Obama are mother and daughter? And does Malaya look Ethiopian to you? I don't know. I was sitting around peeping this. What the fuck is going on in Mexico, Jamaica, St. Lucia? What's going on? Why are them white folks trying to have a soft life, as they say? How are you going to go in these other people's country and then try to evacuate them and basically gentrify? They gentrifying the fuck out of Mexico. I heard that they're up there trying to make people close their businesses down. And what is with black people moving to these countries, especially Mexico, talking about they want a soft life? They're talking about in Venezuela, then people can't come back to Venezuela from the United States. So stop asking. They're not going to let them in. as you stuck on the eclipse. When you got stuck on the eclipse, it comes out on that Tasha K shit. And I said, this shit is crazy and they all in cahoots. How in the fuck is Bobby Brown's sister going to get on there and say that Bobby Brown molested all 3 of her daughters? Then you are a fucked up ass bitch ass mother then. That you going to sit up there and knowing he already probably did it once. It wouldn't even get past one time. And apparently she didn't sat up. And she's the one who had me looking at that, reading that fucking Inquirer when she told on Whitney Houston with them drug pipes. But my question is this. We up there feeling sorry for her. I'm like, don't feel sorry for her because she sold her daughters if this is true. Because if it happened with one, it shouldn't have got past that. That means he's a sexual deviant psychopath. Okay, if this is so. But what the fuck are you? And it sounds like that he's not paying her bills anymore. So then she got on that Tasha K bullshit to go and say, well, this is what he's been doing and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, that's raggedy as fuck. And we got to start blaming these parents and putting their asses on the chopping block. It goes the same thing with the entertainment world. What the fuck were you doing? And how in the fuck does he get to molest all 3 of your girls? See, we don't hold ever the mothers responsible and daddies. We're going to sit and look at the entertainers. We already know that's a sick ass world. And something is, and even more, it tells me that all of them been fucking molested. Usually that happens with that type of hypersexual behavior. Bobby Brown sounds like a fucking psychopath. People been over here talking about Good Times, the new Netflix Good Times, and the people behind it. Those are what you call the people who's part of this energy. They are called Afro-Caucasians. We're going to stop playing games, right? In this fucking eclipse, they are Afro-Caucasians. Let me tell you something. There's an energy going on that you have a whole lot of racist people dying, and they have a lot of Sambo and Mammy stuff, right? And you will understand who these people are. Most producers and directors in Hollywood pull from shit like this. Now, you've seen that I had the Minstrel Show book, right? This is the Minstrel Show book, right? This is what I have. Now, furthermore, if I have this, and I told you cooking is spell work, then what is this? This is what white people have. This is a plantation ham pie. Okay, a plantation ham pie. Two tablespoons of butter, margarine, 3 cups of cubed ham, green peppers, plantation ham. This is in their house, right? Okay. You're asking about the Netflix. They always study us. Asians, everybody study us. But this is the shit that they have. You have white women that basically collect mammy dolls, talking about, I feel comfortable with mammy. I love my mammy. These white people, we have all type of shit. And it's always connected to us, and it's in their house. And again, and they're dying off. Let me tell you something. You want to know why that damn Netflix Good Times is having? When you read this book, what's it called? Uncle Tom's Cabin, right? This is the older, this is pretty, I have to be very careful. This one was written in the late 1800s or whatever it is. And this is pretty old. And hopefully I can pull it out. This is what they live on. This is what they write from. This right here. Okay? That's what they writing from. You better understand what the fuck it is and what to see. They wanna get rid of, all that shit. We gotta understand what's going on. Right here. I don't know if you can see it or not. Do you see these markings? Do you understand that's somebody teaching their kid how to read each word? Each word. Understand what the fuck that is. And then you're wondering why shit like this is written about us. This is what they study. This is their Bible. Understand that. People over here tripping off that interesting specimen who's going to play Francesca with the new Romeo and Juliet, right? They out here tripping big time. And I guess Zendaya's boyfriend is supposed to be playing Romeo. Let me tell you something here right now. I don't know what's going on. My son compared her pic to Michael Jackson. And yes, she looks masculine. The Francesca, the black person who's African. So first of all, everybody's tripping because it's supposed to be an Italian energy, right? Well, first of all, if it's 1500s, that means they were black anyway. So most likely, what's his name? William Shakespeare stole the frequency anyway. Okay, so we have to understand the 1500s, which is Italian Renaissance, that was black. That was not white. So those figures that you see that are in whiteface, they were painted over and over and over. Understand that's what they keep doing. So you guys out there thinking that a lot of those, Renaissance and medieval paintings or of the whiter skinned people. No, they get touched up and then they recoat them and tint them. And what you have to understand with a lot of this, especially with the Italian culture, the Bezzanini and all of those energies, those have been painted over. Okay, so technically Romeo and Juliet and the thought of it would be of a darker melanated energy. That's the realities. Okay, however, to have Francesca, who might be African, who's very masculine looking, it really goes back into the Willie Lynch effect. We'll say, not even Jim Crow, but Willie Lynch. And now they're saying that whole Willie Lynch frequency is a hoax. It's not a hoax. It's just what it is. And therefore, here we're going ass backwards again. And we're going to start to cast women, black women, who are not pretty or who don't have a certain frequency to them. They're going backwards in time and they're going into the root effects. When I look at her, I said, okay, I see what they're doing. And white people people allegedly are being racist. No, they just don't like her aesthetics. And the bottom line of that, again, it goes back into the Willie Lynch effect. It goes back into Uncle Tom's Cabin. It goes back into minstrel. Because you have to understand who's financing. You have Russia and the Ukraine who have Sambo energies. They have minstrel shows. They have puppets dressed as minstrel. This is what's coming into America. You have Asia, Philippines, all of that has the minstrel show frequency. They don't never want a black woman to look a certain way. Either the black woman had to look masculine or the black man had to be feminine. That's the way this is. I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of those Romeo and Juliets is about inclusive energy. And now what I mean being inclusive, that might actually be a dude. Because we understand the story is not dealing with black and white. It might be dealing with same sex, and to find out she's really a dude. Allegedly, I don't know. That's spell work, okay? And that rolls back into the Netflix Good Times. Everything is based off of these energies, and they study it, and they keep recycling the same stereotypical bewitchery and witchcraft over and over and over. That's why they put this out during and around the eclipse, because they needed to they need us in a certain position within the work. See, that's why they pulled her out during this time, because they're going ass backwards. This is above your pay grade, but you have to understand what I'm saying. Go back and look at the alleged hoax of Willie Lynch, and you understand what I'm saying, okay? So this is Weird Renegade Witches blog. Hit us up when you want some real motherfucking work done.